want me to put this away for you?
It's frozen.
Hi everybody, hope everybody's having a good time. So, I'm Patrice, I'm Pat's daughter, and if you know Sam, you have to know Pat. So she wrote something really special for him that I felt that we really needed to share, but she's being a little microphone shy, so I'm going to read it for her. Okay? So, what she wrote is called If I Had to Light 13 Candles, and these are the 13 things that my mom felt that Sam is to her. So, okay, here we go. So, for Sam, the walking calendar. At the beginning of each month, Sam reminds me of all the birthdays I need to remember, and even some that I don't. Like his bus drivers, or the lady he met at the dry cleaners 5 years ago, whose birthday is just too important to forget. Then, on the actual day of the birthday, he also reminds me to call and send them a card, because that's thoughtful, Pat. 2 summers ago, Sam had swine flu and was feeling really sick. But without missing a beat, on the morning of June 12th, with barely any voice, Sam called my husband to wish him a happy birthday. The second candle is for Sam the Rememberer. A few months ago, Sarah mentioned casually about seeing me in a pair of shoes I hardly ever wear. Did you get new shoes? And along came Sam. They're not new. You bought them in February 2008 at Sears. I was with you, Pat. The third candle is for Sam the Hygienist. At a recent meal together, I went to use the restroom. I came out to Sam, patiently waiting to ask me, in a voice the whole restaurant could hear. Did you wash your hands, Pat? The fourth candle is for Sam, the personal organizer. There have been many times that Sam is with me when someone calls to make or switch an appointment, whether it be personal or professional. If I don't have my calendar on me, I might say, I'll have to let you know. Then Sam will chime in, no, Pat, you have an appointment at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. For Sam, the good manner guy. Very often, before we go to someone's house or a store, I'll stop to go over some ground rules before we go in. Now when we go out, just before we leave the car, Sam reminds me, no crazy questions, don't touch other people's things, and use an inside voice, mister. The sixth candle is for Sam, the dinner date. Some people are proud to say they saw the 7 wonders of the world, or that they visited every baseball stadium in the country. Well, Sam and I are different. We're trying to go to every restaurant on Long Island, and conveniently, every one of them is Sam's favorite. The seventh candle is for Sam the comedian. One night on our way home from a day trip, after spending an entire day with Sam and his 8 million questions, my husband Caesar decided to turn the tables and ask some of Sam's usual questions. Sam, what is Sarah doing? Sam, what is your dad doing? Sam, what will Grandma do on Monday? Caesar went on and on, as Sam sometimes does. Sam finally had enough and politely said, Caesar, please pay attention to the road. When that didn't get him to stop, Sam said, Caesar, those questions are annoying. Caesar continued, and finally Sam said, Pat, Caesar's getting on my last nerve. Please talk to him about his behavior. We laughed the entire ride home. The eighth candle is for Sam, the cheerleader. At least 10 times a day, Sam tells me that I am the best teacher in the world, or the best friend he ever had, and he loves when I say in response, you're not so bad yourself. A phrase he now uses pretty frequently also. But the best moment was back in early spring. I'm sure we can ask Sam for the exact date if we need it. We went to see a children's concert, and the kids in the audience were invited up to the stage. As always, I encouraged Sam to join in, and he did. The entertainer then asked for adult volunteers to come up. As always, Sam encouraged me to join in, and I did. Center stage, I had to sing and dance with a giant puppet for the song. I found out afterwards that a video of my performance would be on YouTube. As we exited the stage, Sam came up to me like only Sam can and gave me the biggest hug and announced to the entire audience, I'm so proud of you, Pat. You did a great job. In that moment, I no longer cared about how silly my dance with the puppet was, or that all of the world would be able to upload the embarrassing performance onto their computer. In that moment, in Sam's eyes, I was a star. The ninth candle is for Sam, my right-hand man. Have you ever tried to get your kids to help you around the house? If they're like my kids, most of the time it's just easy to do yourself. Not Sam. He loves to recycle, take out the garbage, or bring in the mail and newspaper. He's also full of useful information. Sam calls himself the weatherman. Unfortunately, he can't tell you if tomorrow will be bright and sunny or if there will be 2 feet of snow. But he's glad to remind you of the current forecast. In case you can't tell from the dark clouds, windshield wipers, and puddles, Pat, it's raining. He's also helpful in reporting on the traffic or other current events. One time after I sent him on a trip to take out some things for recycle, he must have opened the front door just a bit too wide because he came back to report the current state of affairs. Pat, Casey's in the driveway. Unfortunately, Casey didn't stay in the driveway, and we spent the next hour looking for our dog who was exploring the neighborhood. The 10th candle is for Sam, my mini-me. With Sam, you need to watch everything you say and do because he will often repeat it. Some of the Pat-isms that he now uses himself are, see you at 6-ish, or instead of good night, have a GN, or if it works for you, it works for me. Just the other night, he told a random stranger, be safe out there. Sam also talks about the different things he wants to be when he grows up. His latest aspiration, he told me, I want to be a teacher like you. He then said he'd like to teach math, but no calculators, please. The 11th candle is for Sam, the other man in my life. Sam is full of compliments and will often say things like, Pat, you're the best, or Pat, you're cute, or Pat, you look nice today. He also tells me, and anyone else who will listen, Pat and I make a great couple. On one occasion, we went out for an early dinner, and we were the only ones in the restaurant when we arrived. Sam heard some soft music playing and said, Pat, let's dance. And so, we danced. The 12th candle is for Sam, the teacher. Sam has taught me so many things about myself and about life in general. Like, why do we only celebrate days like Christmas or Thanksgiving or Hanukkah when we could celebrate the last day of March or the first day in May, or celebrate just because it's Wednesday like Sam does? Sam also taught me to pray quietly. One day after a hard day of work and Sam having a difficult time focusing on our work, I muttered something that I often do when I'm having a rough time with him or anyone else. A few minutes later, Sam, now frustrated with me, repeated back to me what I had prayed for. Jesus, give me patience with this girl. Sam doesn't sweat the small stuff, he loves everyone, and everywhere he goes, he has, and I quote Sam on this one, the best time of his life. And the final candle is for Sam, my 3rd child. In my 36 years of teaching, I have had, like all teachers do but hate to admit, a few favorite students for one reason or another. I don't have that relationship with Sam. He's not just my student anymore. Like my other 2 children, he makes me angrier than I can imagine and frustrates me to death. But most of all, he makes me prouder than I can ever explain. Although it may sound cliche, Sam really does make me laugh and really does make me cry. He's a real joy in my life, and he is my 3rd reason for waking up each morning. Sam, I really love you.
I think Jessie wants to say a few words too, and with Daniel by her side. Sorry these speeches are going so long, but we have so many important things.